what is one aspect of salsa that doesn't get covered enough? I'm not sure about other dances, but in salsa, I would say that the fundamentals generally do not get covered enough. And the reason I think they don't get covered enough is because they don't have the razzle dazzle that fancy moves and fancy partner work and footwork and all of that stuff has. However, without strong fundamentals, you don't have anything that you can build upon. And unfortunately, yes, it does come down to our teachers and what we feel we need to be teaching so that we can get people in through the door, so that we can have a business where we can continue to grow the scene and um, uh, encourage new dancers as well as improve our existing dancers. But if we don't make the fundamentals interesting in some way as instructors, then we're basically telling our students the exact same thing, that they're not that important, that they are something that can be skimmed over, that they are boring. So I always say it's a management thing, it is leadership first and foremost. And so we as teachers being leaders in our community, we need to make that that element of dance something that's fun and exciting and makes you want to go back and revisit it, even when you've passed the stage of being an absolute beginner. The workshops that we did in Hawaii, the Empowered Movement Intensive, was all about this. Like we did our first workshop, I think we kind of got into the basic at the very end. We focused on how to step, how to move, how to counterbalance, when to counterbalance, how much do you counterbalance, when do you step a certain way, because every step has a purpose, and how to define the purpose of that step and how to know when it's different. Like these are little things that you understand about just the movement itself without even going into a single aspect of the dance. Same thing with connection. How do you connect? How do you make that contact with somebody? How do you create the compression? How do you read the changes in direction? And how much force do you need to give to create a change in direction? And how much force do you need to connect to respond to that change in direction? Those are all fundamental elements of connection without ever having to go into any salsa movement or any turn pattern or anything like that. But we don't focus on that. We go right into, here's a styling move, here's a footwork sequence, here is a fancy turn pattern. But most of the time, what I see is really sloppy steps. And if I'm dancing with those people, including some pretty advanced dancers, I feel kind of a mediocre connection. It's one thing to be able to lift your hand and rotate it to give somebody a turn. It's another thing to make sure that your connection is solid throughout that, and that you're pushing when you're pushing and you're pulling when you're pulling, and you're creating a place for someone to stop when you need them to stop, and where your lats engage and all of those things. If you're just coming out of your shoulder joint, yeah, you're giving a right turn, you're giving the lead, but is it a quality lead? Not because they're bad dancers, just because they're missing those little connectors, those connecting points between what they know and what are the fillers. And the fillers are your fundamentals. That's why I would say that fundamentals are super important. And also that I would say they do get overlooked and they don't get covered enough.